Hello and welcome to Episodic Chance. I'm your host Chance, and we'll be taking a look at episodes from various animated shows, TV specials, and whatever I can get my hands on for a critical analysis. Today's episode comes from a show that the vast majority of people haven't heard of, but you might recognize the voice talent involved. I am of course talking about Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go. Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go, also known by its abbreviation SRMTHFG, was an American-Japanese anime-influenced television series that aired from September 18, 2004 to December 16, 2006. It was produced by Walt Disney Television Animation, but the actual animation was done by the Answer Studio in Japan. The series was the first original show produced for the ABC Family's Jetix programming block, and for the Jetix and Disney channels worldwide. The show's creator, Ciro Nieli, has done a lot of writing and directing roles for various shows like the 2003 Teen Titans series, Transformers Animated, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and he was even the showrunner and executive producer for the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. As you may have noticed from the clips and screenshots, the show's art style pays homage to classic anime like Astro Boy, Speed Racer, and Cyborg 009, as well as the works of Ken Ishikawa, Go Nagai, Sanpei Shirato, Shitaro Ishinomori, and Osamu Tezuka. Outside of anime, the show is also inspired by franchises like Super Sentai, aka Power Rangers in the West, Voltron, Star Trek, and Star Wars. For me personally, both this and Ed, Edd n Eddy are some of my favorite shows as a kid growing up in the 2000s. With SRMTHFG, it's a bit hard to relate how much I love this show because it seems like very few people remember it except for the most diehard of fans on the internet. And at least these days you can watch it on Disney+, and I do recommend watching it if you are interested. So while most people may not be familiar with the show itself, you'll certainly recognize at least one, two, or perhaps several different voice actors in it who should at least be household names by this point. Such a cast includes Greg Cipes, Kevin Michael Richardson, Corey Feldman, Tom Kenny, Clancy Brown, Kari Wahlgren, and Mark Hamill. Bear in mind, this is just the main cast. There's also Ashley Johnson, James Hong, Hynden Walsh, Eric Idle, Jeffrey Combs, Scott Minville, Tara Strong, Arthur Burghardt, D. Bradley Baker, John Cassier, Michael York, Lance Hendrickson, Bruce Campbell, and I think you get the idea at this point. Before I go any further, I think it's a good time to talk about our main characters. First we have Chiro, voiced by Greg Cipes. Cipes is probably most known for his role as Beast Boy in Teen Titans Go, and Young Justice Seasons 3 and 4. Unlike Beast Boy, however, Chiro is more of a reluctant hero type who gradually accepts his role in the show. He's also the leader of the Hyperforce, because giving leadership of your superhero mecha team to a 13-year-old is such a great idea. Next is Antari, the team's second in command, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. Kevin Michael Richardson is one of those actors that are in almost every show or movie you've seen and can immediately recognize their voice when you hear them. At least for me anyway. Antari is sort of the team's wise sage in a sense, always looked upon by Chiro and the others for guidance. In the first half of the show, he starts off with a black body, but later gets a really cool silver body, but that's a story for another day. Sparks, voiced by Corey Feldman, is the wisecracking red monkey on the team. Feldman is more known for his roles in popular 80s movies like The Goonies or The Lost Boys. I personally know him as the voice of Donatello from the first live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Sparks has a bit of an ego, but he's always there for his teammates, especially Nova, whom he develops romantic feelings for later in the series. Although that's a bit iffy given the relationship between the monkeys, but I digress. Speaking of Nova, she is the yellow monkey and the only female member of the team, voiced by Kari Wahlgren. Wahlgren is well known for her work in anime, her most famous role being the voice of Haruko Haruhara in the English dub of Fooly Cooly. Nova is the tough girl who acts cool and has a short-fused anger, but she also has a soft side too. If you kinda want to stretch things a bit, she's not too dissimilar to Yang from RWBY, even having the same primary color. Next is Gibson, voiced by Tom Kenny, the blue monkey and the team's resident smart guy. Tom Kenny needs no introduction, but on the off chance you haven't heard of him, he's known for voicing characters like SpongeBob SquarePants, Spyro, and the Ice King from Adventure Time. Gibson's all about logic and a stickler for the facts. Of course, when push comes to shove, he will think outside the box and use his knowledge to his advantage. And finally, we have the Green Monkey, Otto, voiced by Clancy Brown. Some of you may know Clancy Brown as the voice of Lex Luthor from Superman the Animated Series and Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants. He also played the drill sergeant from Starship Troopers. Otto is a bit of a dimwit and is often the show's comic relief, but he's also a mechanical genius who invents a lot of different gadgets for the team. Now with that all established, let's take a look at the show's very first episode. So with shows like these, you would expect the first episode to be an origin story for the main characters, is that right? Wrong! No, that stuff's already explained away in the show's introduction.
While exploring the outskirts of the city, I discovered an abandoned super robot. It was then my life was transformed by the mysterious power Primate. The robot monkeys were awakened, and I, Chiro, made their leader. Our quest, save Sugazoom City from the evils of the Skeleton King.
While on the subject of the intro, the opening theme song is performed by Japanese synth-pop new wave band Polythix. The song's fast-paced momentum always got me pumped up for the show, and listening to it now feels like the musical embodiment of a sugar high. So how does the first episode of SRMTHFG actually start? With the Hyperforce having to clean their giant robot with the same amount of enthusiasm as washing your car. Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go! Thrill as our heroes clean a giant robot! Chiro gets distracted by extreme close-ups of a cute girl, which almost leads to him falling to his death, and now he can't stop thinking about who that mysterious girl is. He goes off on his own to look for her, only to find her being harassed by bullies, and one of said bullies has a pear for a body. Chiro scares off these bullies, and the mystery girl introduces herself as Jinmei. Jinmei is voiced by Ashley Johnson, who you might recognize from a bunch of different TV shows and video games. Some of her characters that she's played includes Terra from Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, Tulip from Infinity Train, and Ellie from The Last of Us. Jinmei thanks Chiro for saving her, which of course gets him all flustered and embarrassed, the typical teenage romance stuff. Jinmei even has her own pet monkey.
Hiya, Fuzzball.
That's Sako. I think he likes you.
I think I like him too.
So if Sako is a boy, why is he wearing girls' clothes? I guess he's into cross-dressing. And just like that, they're already dating, which seems to happen a bit too quickly, even for a kid's cartoon. Not even a line of dialogue suggesting they go out for lunch together? While we're on the subject of Chiro and Jinmei, I've got to ask, why is it that every time Greg Sipes and Ashley Johnson are in the same show together, their characters are almost always in a romantic relationship? I'm serious. Aside from Chiro and Jinmei, there's also Beast Boy and Terra from the Teen Titans, Gwen and Kevin from Ben 10, even Michelangelo and Renette from TMNT. Is this like an inside joke that I'm not in on? Anyway, Chiro's absence from the super robot hasn't gone unnoticed by the rest of the Hyperforce, who become concerned of his whereabouts. Antari tries to contact Chiro via communicator, but he's too deeply in love to respond. To make matters worse, an enemy threat approaches Sugazoom City, forcing the monkeys to defend the city without Chiro. Said threat is a horde of skeleton guys riding skeleton-themed motorcycles, led by this rotund robot with a TV screen on his chest broadcasting a message from their leader, the Skeleton King.
Doomed citizens, surrender and bow to my will, or send out your monkeys to their fate.
That is, of course, Mark Hamill voicing the Skeleton King. Hamill is most certainly a legend in film and television, from roles such as Luke Skywalker from Star Wars to the Joker from Batman the Animated Series. His character here kinda sounds like Firelord Ozai from Avatar with the visage of Skeletor from He-Man. Perhaps this is the timeline where Aang actually did kill Ozai, but the Firelord was resurrected as an undead skeleton man, which made him more insane than he already was. The monkeys fight, showing off their various powers in a number of unique ways. Nova, those are fists, not tomahawks. Unfortunately, it's not enough as they're overwhelmed pretty quickly. Meanwhile, as civilians run away in fear, Chiro and Jinmei are completely oblivious to what's happening around them. With some convincing from Sako, Chiro comes to his senses and powers up to fight the horde. I should note that Chiro does not have a secret identity and everybody in Sugazoom, except Jinmei, knows he's a superhero. Chiro joins the fight with the rest of the monkeys, showing off how OP he is in front of his new girlfriend. The Skeleton King and his forces retreat, and Chiro ditches the Hyperforce again, but they catch up with him and take him back to their base. Antari berates Chiro for keeping secrets from the team, which prompts Chiro to tell them that he invited Jinmei to the super robot. The monkeys take this news pretty well. Despite their initial hesitation, they happily introduce themselves to her.
Name's SBRX77, but you can call me Sparks.
I am Mr. Hal Gibson. Do not call me Mr. or Hal, just Gibson, please.
Why is Sparks' real name essentially leet speak while the others have normal names? And why does Gibson have a first and last name when the others only have a single name? It really doesn't matter because Jinmei doesn't hear any of that. Instead, she hears... This was sort of a plot point in the first season where Chiro was the only one who could understand the monkeys because of his powers. Fortunately, this problem would be rectified in season 2, but for now, it's still a work in progress. After another Chiro x Jinmei shipping moment, Sako cockblocks them, which prompts Jinmei to call it a night. After she leaves, the Hyperforce discovers that a silent alarm was triggered during her visit. It turns out that Sako is not as innocent as he looks.
Oh, and look at the little guy hack our computer.
I know you're supposed to be the comic relief, Otto, but could you maybe take this threat to your base's security a bit more seriously? So with this revelation that Sako is a spy and the fact that Chiro is an angsty 13-year-old who lives with monkeys, he immediately confronts Jinmei and accuses her of lying to him. Surprisingly, she takes this all pretty well.
I'm not lying. I don't like this game, Chiro.
On an unrelated note, am I the only one who notices that the trees in this scene look like they belong in Minecraft? It's at this point in the episode where we get a major plot twist. One that will have major repercussions later in the series.
Sako? You can talk?
Come in, Jinmei, come in. There is someone I would like you to meet.
Not exactly that, but this is just the appetizer for what comes next.
What am I?
You're a grandfather clock, apparently. Granddaughter clock? The Skeleton King appears via hologram, informing Jinmei that she is in fact a robot girl. According to him, he found her unconscious body floating in the vacuum of space, then erased her memories and reprogrammed her with his plan to defeat Chiro and the Hyperforce.
But I like Chiro.
Well, Chiro doesn't like you. He found out you're a robot.
That's right, Jinmei. The boy who lives with robot monkeys inside a giant mecha absolutely hates robots. I'm not making a compelling argument, am I?
Not really.
Well, fine then. I'll have Sako upload a program in your head that turns you into a giant robot that I'm going to use to fight the Super Robot Monkey Team. How do you like that, huh? Hey, wait. Sako, you idiot! I told you to make her giant-sized after I finished monologuing. Why are all my minions so incompetent? Meanwhile, at the Super Robot, a mopey Chiro stands outside in the rain, but thankfully he's comforted by his team. Sadly, this touching moment is interrupted by another attack. I think now is a good time to talk about the Super Robot itself, which later becomes a character in its own right. Much like a Power Rangers Megazord, the Super Robot is a Gestalt robot that disassembles into an equal number of tanks and jets that each member of the team pilots. Admittedly, it looks like one of those vintage wind-up robot toys from the 1950s, but it does allow it to stand out from other mecha designs in a way, so I'll give it points there. The Super Robot arrives at the scene of the attack, coming across another but strangely familiar giant robot.
Jinmei? She's a robot!
I do like the detail that she's attacking the ice cream parlor she and Chiro were at earlier in the episode. Oh, and thanks animators for giving us an upskirt shot of the giant robot girl. Should I be censoring this? The two robots fight, showing off an impressive arsenal of weaponry and fighting tactics. The guitar riff in the background isn't bad either.
It's the bad monkey!
What was his name again? The fighting gets more intense as Jinmei forces the Super Robot into a tough corner. The two fall over into the ocean, just barely staying afloat. The Super Robot keeps a piece of the bridge from collapsing on them, but this gives Jinmei an opening for her twin-tail buzzsaws. Realizing how screwed they currently are, Chiro makes a desperate attempt to get Jinmei's attention, promising her that he won't keep secrets from her anymore. And it works. If only for a brief moment.
I can't stop my arm!
Yeah, Sako's still in control of her, but Nova quickly takes care of that, forcing Sako to retreat for now. As the Hyperforce are repairing the damages, Chiro and Jinmei have one last moment together before she leaves, hoping to find out more about her origins. In the last scene of the episode, Sako begs the Skeleton King for another chance to prove himself, but the Skeleton King's had enough and... well, for what happens next, I think I will let the scene play out for itself.
No. No, not that. No!
Oh, I almost forgot.
That's a lot of effed up to unpack. And that was the very first episode of SRMTHFG. While I would have preferred the final episode of an original series like this to focus more on world building and characterization, this is still a pretty decent episode. The romance between Chiro and Jinmei is fine, but it feels like we're missing a scene or two that really connects them as a potential couple. The action scenes are a lot of fun, and the episode has good pacing. And in case you were wondering, Jinmei does become a recurring character in the series, even if we never learn about her true origins, eventually becoming a full-fledged member of the Hyperforce. Sako also makes a couple more appearances in the show, but he's often relegated to being either a minion or a side character. We'll definitely come back to the show to look at more episodes, but until then, my name is Chance, and this has been an episode of Episodic Chance. Thank you for watching.
I have